Hi, my name is Kathy Moyne and we're here at Green Thumb Nursery in Lake Forest, California to talk about prepping for the heat and watering. So we've got some warmer temperatures coming our way here pretty soon, and it's already warmer this morning. So I thought maybe we should be talking about watering and getting your plants ready for the heat that's to come, and possibilities of water shortages and us having to cut back on our watering. So some of the things that we can do to help our plants get through this hot summer with low amounts of water is we can mulch, we can deep soak, and we can also plant drought tolerant type plants. Now, drought tolerant type plants unfortunately are not really drought tolerant until they've been in the ground for 2 years. So they have to be established before they are truly drought tolerant. However, there are a lot of plants that you can plant like right now, and with good care, good proper deep soaking and watering, you can actually get them to be okay with a once a week watering schedule. Most of the time, I think, in my mind, that we water too much anyway. How many times I've heard somebody say, oh yeah, we water 1 minute every day. Well, that's not good for many reasons. Watering 1 minute every day keeps everything, the top surface, wet, but depending upon what kind of sprinkler system you're using, that 1 minute is giving them basically nothing, and you're wasting your time and you're making your poor plants thirsty. So the best thing to do is deep soaking, first of all. 3 to 5 gallons worth of water at a time on a plant is not unheard of if you're going to deep soak something. Now, I'm not saying let's go dump a 5-gallon bucket of water on something. I'm saying that can be done over a longer period of time. So if you're using a pop-up sprinkler, you may want to cycle it for 20-30 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes. What you do is you water for as long as you can until you get runoff, and then you let that kind of soak in, and then you hit it again for another cycle, and then you might hit it again and maybe again. As long as you're watering till you get runoff, or just before you start to get runoff, and let that soak in, the deeper the water goes, the better it's going to be for everybody. Your plants, the microorganisms that are in the soil do better when they're not being saturated every single day. They like to also get a breather in between those watering cycles. So your roots become deeper. They become more drought tolerant because the roots are deeper. They're able to tap into some of that water that's down lower in our soils. And because we do have clay soil in this area in Orange County here, the clay soil actually holds moisture, which a lot of times people come in with overwatering problems. So that tells me that we are generally watering more than we really need to. If you step on your lawn and it pops back up, it doesn't need to be watered, folks. It can go another day between waterings. So, but that's still not to say that you don't give it a nice deep soaking when you do water it. Marathon lawns, the Marathon Fescue Marathon actually has a 2-foot deep root system. If you're watering deeply, it can tolerate that. And just because they're going to look a little brown possibly, those lawns will come back when it gets cooler. So like lawns in places where it gets cold, they go dormant every year and come right back again. So the lawns are pretty tough, and we can kind of suffer through this heat and this drought with maybe not the perfect green lawn, but at least it'll come back when it gets cooler, and hopefully we'll get some rain this year in the winter time, and it'll refill our reservoirs, but probably not. We've been in a drought for seems like forever, so I guess this is something we just need to get used to. Now, our nursery has geared up to most of the plants in our nursery are drought tolerant type plants. So there's just a few like ferns can actually, some ferns can be drought tolerant, but like your hydrangeas and your azaleas, those guys need water. So maybe you skip a shower or two and you save some water and you water your little guys there that you want to keep that have a little too much water or need more water. But most plants that we carry nowadays in most California nurseries are carrying more drought tolerant type plants. So, and there's still a lot of plants that are beautiful that will live on less water. So one thing that you can do to supplement your watering is you can use a soaker hose. Now this is just a hose that you lay out around the area. You hook it onto your spigot and you just turn it on and let it go. Now I usually let mine go fairly slow, and it can go for a couple hours and deliver the water slowly and not get runoff. It's great for slopes. If you have slopes, maybe fruit trees on slopes, and you're wanting to keep your fruit trees, and who cares about the rest of the plants? Our fruit trees are our investment. You can wrap this hose around your fruit trees and hook it onto a hose, and we've got timers that can go on hoses, and you can set that timer to go off a certain time of the day or whatever, or as many times as you need it to, and that would give it a nice deep soaking. Now I mentioned earlier mulching. I like to use the EB Stone Azalea Camellia mix as a mulch, a top dressing. And basically you just put that on top of the soil. You don't have to mix it in, you don't have to blend it in, you just lay it on top. And you can do up to a 3-inch thick layer of mulch, but you don't want to put it around the trunk of the plant. So don't put it right up around the trunk of the plant, because the plant is gonna get really happy if you do that. So pull your mulch back a little ways and it will kind of wash in there. So you have to kind of be mindful of, you might need to go there and pull it back every now and again. But before you put this nice big thick layer of mulch down, you can also put a layer of the Malibu compost. And the Malibu compost helps with soil tilth. That helps, meaning that it helps water to percolate and to get down into the soil. It helps those little microorganisms that are living in that top layer, 4 to 6 inch layer of the soil. Now when you water deep, you saturate that soil, and those microorganisms are like, okay, we're kind of floating around here, but then it dries out, and that top 4 to 6 inches dries out, and those little microorganisms are happy. If you're watering every day, they're not happy. They're the ones who break up fertilizer. They're the ones who break up the mulch and make it available to your plants. So we want those little microorganisms to be happy. So the Malibu compost jump starts those microorganisms. Just a thin layer. You don't need a real big thick layer. You can do a real thin layer over the top there, and if you're going to do anything, at least do the compost, because that is going to also really jumpstart that soil and make it healthy, make it work better, make it percolate better, so that your water is going to be used more efficiently. Every time I've put both of these products on my plants, they've lasted way better. Before they needed more water, they actually took a little bit longer to dry out. So, and again, when you do this, you want to make sure you don't overwater, so you need to check it. So maybe the first couple times that you need to think you need to water, go out there and dig down and check to see if it's dry. After a while you get an idea. You don't have to do it every time, but after a while you get an idea. Okay, when the weather's like this and I water this much, it takes about this long for it to dry out. As it gets hotter, it's going to dry out faster. If we get wind, it's going to dry out faster. If the humidity is lower, it's going to dry out faster. So you kind of be mindful of the weather, what's going on around you, and then that way you can adjust. It's no more can we just push a button and let it cycle for like 5 minutes every day and be good with it. We can't. So we have to learn how to use our controllers. Most people let the gardener do it. Half the time the gardener doesn't know what they're doing. They just push a button and set it on 5 minutes and walk away, because they don't have to live with it. They're not paying your water bill. So we're going to get probably dinked if we don't start being more conservative with our water. Then some other things that you can do. This one is called Wilt Stop. And this is a product that helps the plant to not transpire as much. So the way plants work is underneath there's these little pores that cause the water to transpire or come out of the plant. It causes a capillary action where it actually helps the roots to uptake water, and then this is like a straw, kind of pulls the water through the plant. Well, if we stop that transpiration, the plant will actually hang on to that water and not lose it as quickly. So that is one way. The wilt stop is one way to help them. Like if you got one plant that just seems to be wilting all the time, you can spray this on that plant and it will stop it from wilting so much. So it will help. You're not going to be spraying your whole yard with it, but most of our established plants are going to be okay with a nice deep soaking and allowed to dry out between waterings. They're just, like for example, this silver sheen. These plants actually in the summer do not want water. They actually want to go dry between. Now, I've got one that's established. It's been in the ground for about 5 or 6 years. I don't even water around the base of it. It gets water from all the other plants around it. So these plants, I tell people, let them droop. Let them tell you, okay, I need water, and then finally give them some water. Your California natives. Now, your natives are something that should have already been planted in the winter time, so that makes them drought tolerant. You can plant natives now, but you have to be very careful with how you plant them, how you water them, how you take care of them. But if your natives are established, they don't need summer water. I mean, if you look at our hillsides, they're not the most beautifulest thing in the world, but they are drought tolerant. They do take this warmth, this heat, and lack of water and still come back. So at this point, we're trying to save our investment. And if it kind of looks a little dry, so be it. At least it's not going to die. At least it'll come back. So another thing that you can do, especially for your citrus, your fruit trees, any tree that might have a trunk that's exposed to the sun, you can use trunk white. If the trunk burns, that's the vascular system of the plant. And if it's dead, guess what? There's a disconnect between the roots and the plant. So that's very important as well. You want to protect the trunks of those plants. And you can kind of tell. They'll change a different color. It's usually on the southeast side of the plant. They change a little bit different color. They may split and crack open, especially with fruit trees. If you see like branches that are sitting like this and they're all cracked up, and that's from sunburn. So again, you can help them. You're putting sunscreen on them just like you do with your kids before you send them out to the swimming pool. So these are all just wonderful things that you can do to help get these plants through this hot weather. And make sure when you're planting plants that you're doing it either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. And besides which, who wants to be out there digging holes and planting plants when it's 100 degrees outside? Hopefully we're not going to get into the 100 degrees today, but it's coming. We are going to get hot, and they probably will cut back our water. So let's be mindful of deep soaking, checking before we water to make sure that it is dry, a couple inches down, and mulching, doing some of these things, using the soaker hose that will help you to hit spot areas that you can add a little water to. If they cut us down to one day, at least you can water like crazy that one day. Don't be afraid to give it a good deep soaking. They like that. So hopefully this was helpful for you, and we'll be able to get through this tough drought tolerant year, or drought type year, and we'll be able to come to the other side and still have some good plants in our yard. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, please click the like button. If you have not subscribed, please hit the little button and the bell, and so that you can get notifications when we have new videos. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.